Morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Wednesday, May 4th, 2022 meeting of the Lake Havasu City Planning and Zoning Commission. If you'd please rise and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Madam Secretary, would you please call the roll?
Jim Harris.
Here.
Donald Bergen.
Here.
Chad Nelson.
Here.
Matthew Mitchell.
Here.
Sam Levin. Gabrielle Medley.
Here.
David Diaz. Paul Ayer.
Here.
And Susanna Ballard.
Okay, appears we have two members absent, so if Mr. Lair and Mr. Mitchell will please come forward and take a place at the dais here. Okay, correspondence and announcements. Mr. Morris.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, thank you. Just one announcement. Of course, the upcoming expiration of terms for some of the Planning Commission members. Commission member Nelson and Bergen, his terms are expiring at the end of June. And then Mr. McGowan's vacated position is also expired at the end of June. There are also two alternate members, Mr. Mitchell and Mr. Levin, whose terms are expiring at the end of June. So if anyone would like to reapply for the Planning Commission, please contact the City Clerk's office or city staff, and we can email you an application form to reapply. The deadline for application is June 3rd, and then any appointments will be made by the City Council on June 28th. And then the new terms will start the first meeting in July. Of course, any alternate members who would like to apply for a regular member could make an application. And if anyone wants to apply for a regular member or an alternate member, please make that application through the City Clerk's office. That concludes staff's announcements.
And that applies to those who are in the audience. Now is a perfect time to participate if you're interested. Anybody. Okay, minutes of the last meeting. Are there any additions, deletions, corrections to the minutes of the last meeting? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of the last meeting.
Do we have a second? We have a motion by Mr. Nelson, a second by Ms. Medley to approve the minutes of the last meeting. Are there any further discussion? Hearing none, let's go ahead and place our votes.
Motion passes 6-0.
Okay. All right, let me start by saying that this is a public hearing and there is a structured order to this proceeding. The city staff will present each item. There will be time for the commission to ask questions of the staff, and then the applicant will have the opportunity to present their case to the commission. That being done, we will then open the proceeding to the public for their questions and input. I would ask that anyone of the public that wishes to speak limit their trips to the podium and microphone to one only, keep all comments to less than 3 minutes, and to stay on point and not discuss subject matter that is not pertinent to the decision being considered here today. After public testimony is taken, I will then close the public hearing and bring the motion back to the table for city staff's recommendation, discussion amongst the commission, and eventually a motion to approve or disapprove. The first item on today's agenda is ID 22-3279. This is a request for a planned development rezone major amendment to the previously approved PD 01-005 for 2110, 2160, 2170, 2180, and 2190 Swanson Avenue, tract 2268, block 2, lots 1 through 11, in the mixed-use Uptown McCulloch Main Street District, planned development, MU-UMS/PD District, replacing assisted living units, memory care units, restaurant, healthcare, and medical office uses for lots 2 through 5 with multiple family residential uses. Mr. Morris, your presentation, please.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, thank you. The subject property is about 1.5 acres. It consists of the lots outlined here in red. They're located on Swanson Avenue near University Way, just a little bit west of Acoma Boulevard. Arizona State University lies to the south and to the east of this property, And then across Swanson Avenue to the north is some commercial on vacant lots. You'll see the original PD of the total of 11 lots is outlined here in the yellow hash marks, and the subject property for this request are these lots again outlined in red. The current zoning, the university campus, and then to the north is all zone mixed use UMS. The subject property, as well as the original PD, is zoned mixed use UMS with planned development rezone. A little history on the property. Back in 2001, the Eyes of Arizona planned development was approved by City Council. That property included these 11 lots and was rezoned from C1 to a C1 planned development based on this development plan. There were a number of uses proposed for that development, including a surgery center, eye center, and 4 additional commercial and medical buildings. A little more recently, in 2016, the planned development major amendment was approved that did away with the Eyes of Arizona project, and it replaced it with a new project consisting of 4 different phases, if you will. Phase 1, which is not on the end but is in 1, was for an independent senior living units and accessory commercial uses. Phase 2 was for assisted living and memory care units. And then phase 3 was for restaurant, healthcare, and medical offices. And phase 4 was for retail commercial uses. As this project evolved, it changed a little bit in that phases 1 and 2 flip-flopped. So phase 1 before was not on the corner, was in 1. Phase 1, as it is now, moved to the corner, and that's the independent senior living, which is the project knows the views at Lake Havasu. So phase 1 has been developed. It's developed over a little bit over into phase 2, and then phases 2, 3, and 4 have not been developed per the original plan. So that brings us to our current request. So this request is to replace the original phases 2 and 3 with multiple family residential uses and combining them, what we're calling as phase 3 here. So this phase 1 was over here, which is not part of this request. This is the existing views. Phase 4 on the other end is not part of this request, but is vacant property. And then this request, we're combining phases 2 and 3 into 1. We're calling it phase 3. Here's the proposed development plan. Again, it's replacing the assisted living units, memory care, restaurant, healthcare, and medical office uses in phases 2 and 3 with multiple family residential. And again, phase 1 is not part, and phase 4 are not part of this amendment. And we're going to zoom in a little bit more. The submittal shows phase 3 consists of 66 residential units in 4 two-story buildings, resulting in a density of about 42 units per acre on this 1.5 acre lot. The units are a mix of 54 one-bedroom and 12 two-bedroom units. Per the development code, the project requires at least 66 covered parking spaces, 1 for each dwelling unit. The plan shows 78 parking spaces provided, but does not show which spaces are covered and if there are any uncovered spaces. And a landscaping plan was not submitted with the request. Here's a building elevation that was submitted. In the mixed-use UMS district, it allows multiple family dwellings. However, at least 25% of the gross floor area of the structure must be occupied by non-residential units, and dwelling units shall not be located on the ground floor. The proposal calls for no commercial units in the structures, and the plan includes residential units on the ground floor. Therefore, the applicant will require a waiver of those standards as part of this PD amendment. No other exceptions are requested per this application. No exceptions for parking or landscaping or any other setback exceptions are being requested. The general plan designation for this property is high-density residential, which supports this request, and full review for compliance with the parking, landscaping, and other development code standards will be required through design review prior to building permit issuance for the project. That concludes staff's presentation. Open to any questions you may have, and the applicant's also here. Thank you.
Are there any questions of staff by commissioners?
Yes.
Mr. Bergen.
What about for quite some time, there's been a couple of signs there for a hospital coming?
I think that's something maybe it could be addressed to the applicant. I think that maybe that was an idea they had that didn't come to fruition, is my take on that, but they would know more.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Mr. Mitchell?
Luke, will you go back to the zoning map around the property so I can take a look at that again? The MUUMS, that's the university, yeah?
The mixed-use UMS is included in the university. Yeah, the property where the university is on is zoned mixed-use UMS, and that zoning wraps around it, around the dorms for the university, and then on the north side of Swanson and McCulloch in that area. So it kind of wraps around the subject property.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions of staff? Okay, is the applicant present? Please come forward, state your name for the record. Mr. Still.
Commissioners, Mr. Chairman, my name is Luke Still, and I'm with Desert Lane Group and representing the zoning action today. I'm also one of the owners of the property. I just wanted to go back and verify something with Luke, but the original zoning, I think, of this before it went into its original PD was RM. Is that not correct, Luke?
Well, I believe it's C1 PD for the original Eyes of Arizona, and then
They came from an RM to a C1 PD, I believe.
that could be that. I could look at that in the future. It really has no impact on this request.
My only point is that these zonings, the PDs, have been in place well before there was an Uptown McCulloch district. And our original intent with this PD was to build a campus that supported age-restricted type of uses and potentially something that would support ASU in a future phase. Today, the only thing that we've really modified is that we are seeing the reality of assisted living and memory care. We've built the views. We've occupied 64 out of the 92 rooms, but COVID has definitely had an adverse impact on group living, and that definitely slowed down our ability to lease that up, and that's one of the things that has necessitated this change. In terms of the medical hospital there, that was a use that could have fit within the existing PD that we had that originated all the way back to Dr. Tamaro and the medical campus that he was planning. And that's where some of this stuff stayed the same because we just amended the PD last time we came before planning and zoning. So the phase 4 is still something that's going to be owned, retained by one of the current owners of this property. His plan is to still hold on to it and see what becomes the highest and best use. But ideally, we're still hopeful that that would be a entry or admin building, something that would be useful to ASU. So in terms of the question about the micro hospital, that's happening. It's just happening at a different location. It's currently under construction out at the mall. And that's the same group that was going to do it here. It's just there was better incentives to do it out there, and it became a better location for that reason. So any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Any questions of the applicant? Mr. Lair, I see you reaching.
Thank you. So Luke, what's the vision for that link, that building A? Looks like there's sort of a
So originally it was all under one ownership, and we designed it to where those could be linked at a higher level, so you could drive underneath the bridge basically to parking, and you'd be able to link those by a hallway, 2 buildings by a hallway that would all be part of a larger assisted memory care independent living facility.
No, I'm just looking at the plan development that's submitted. It looks like building A, I mean, it reads as 2 buildings on the site plan, but it seems like the intent there would be to have some sort of a connection between the 2, maybe a tower or something, or?
There's not. It's just, that's just the way they've got configured onto the site, but they don't actually touch each other.
Okay. All right, thanks.
Yeah.
Luke, are you guys going to have
Mr. Nelson.
are you going to have an elevator in these buildings?
I'm not sure yet.
Do you know the proposed square footages of the units at all?
They predominantly are single unit bedroom type stuff. This is going to be higher density on purpose so that we can try and keep price points as affordable as possible, but probably range between 550 to around 850 square feet.
Thank you.
Any other questions of the applicant? Mr. Bergen?
Why are not the two signs that have been there for a long time about a hospital coming. Why aren't those signs taken down?
Well, we like to advertise the micro hospital as much as possible, and it's a great form of advertising. It's being built right now, so we're advertising it on that site because it brings good publicity to us.
Presumably, they will eventually come down when this project develops, though.
Correct.
Any other questions of the applicant? Thank you, Mr. Still.
Thank you.
Okay, this is a public hearing. Is there anybody in the audience that wishes to speak on this item? Anybody at all, pro or con? Hearing none, I'll go ahead and close the public hearing portion of this item and bring it back to the table for staff's recommendations.
Mr. Chairman and Commissioners, thank you. Based on the findings, the Development Review Committee recommends the Planning Commission forward a recommendation of approval to the City Council for Land Use Action 22-3279 for a planned development rezone major amendment to the previously approved PD 01-005 for 2110, 2160, 2170, 2180, and 2190 Swanson Avenue, tract 2268, Block 2, lots 1 through 11, in the mixed-use Uptown McCulloch Main Street District Plan Development, MUMSPD District, replacing assisted living units, memory care units, restaurant, healthcare, and medical office uses for lots 2 through 5, Phase 3, with multiple family residential uses with the following conditions. Condition 1, the development shall substantially match the proposed development plan provided with the request. Number 2, 100% of the gross floor area of the structure may be occupied by residential uses. Number 3, dwelling units may be located on the ground floor. And number 4, design review for compliance with the development code and the conditions of this approval shall be required for the project prior to building permit issuance. And as a reminder, this item is scheduled for review by the City Council with your recommendation at its June 14th meeting. Thank you.
Okay, we are at the table for discussion and/or a motion. Commissioners, anybody? Mr. Nelson?
I'll make a motion to approve land use action ID 22-3279 with staff's recommendations.
Anybody's going to second that? Mr. Mitchell?
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Nelson, a second by Mr. Mitchell to approve item number 22-3279 with staff's recommendations. Any further discussion on the motion? Mr. Lear?
I guess what I'm a little concerned when I see the site plan that's presented is there's no connection from the buildings themselves to the sidewalk or the Swanson Street side. It seems like that connection, that link, that's part of the RUMS zone it just hasn't been addressed, and I'm wondering if that's part of the overall plan or what the thought process is there.
Mr. Morris, would you put that visual back up again, please?
Yes, the elevations here, this is what you're talking about? Yes.
Right. And the site plan also. Yeah.
Okay. As the commission may be aware, of course, recently we've had discussions and you made a recommendation to go to the City Council for some development standards in some of the zoning districts, which were the residential zoning districts. This is the commercial zoning district. Those thoughts you had about making a connection by sidewalk from the main door to the street, and that isn't part of this zoning district, but it's certainly something that could be encouraged by the developer. It's not something that necessarily would be required, but through design review process, if they want to work together with the city to do something that helps encourage that pedestrian linkage, it's something certainly we can look at through the design review process.
Any other questions of staff? Or discussion on the motion? Okay, hearing none, let's call for the question.
Motion passes 5-1.
Congratulations and good luck. All right, this is the portion of the meeting where we have the call to the public. If there's anybody in the audience that wishes to speak to the commission on any subject whatsoever, now is the time to do so. Anybody at all, call to the public. Hearing none, I'll close the call to the public. Mr. Morris, future meetings.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, you will have a break. The May 18th meeting is not, has no items and the room is not available to us anyway, so May 18th meeting is canceled. We will have a meeting on June 1st. June 1st meeting is still scheduled to move forward, so we'll see you in about a month.
Okay. With that, I thank everybody and we are adjourned.